Hello everyone, I'm Brian and welcome back. So part 4, last one, hopefully, let's get started.
You talked about self-enrichment and self-consciousness, and you were going to give us some tools. I think we all got distracted. None of us have heard about the tools that you could offer us.
So it's like this. The nature of your existence, your experience and your perception is right now like this. You know that you're here right now because you can see, you can hear, you can smell, you can taste and you can touch. Suppose right now you just dozed off a little bit. You're still very alive and everything is going on here. But if you doze off a little bit, first thing is I will disappear, for sure. If you doze some more, everybody will disappear. If you go more, even you will disappear. This is the nature of human experience. Simply because the 5 sense organs have shut down, suddenly the world is obliterated, even you're obliterated. Or in other words, your entire experience of life right now is limited to 5 sense organs. These sense organs, in the very nature of things, cannot see anything the way it is. They can only see everything in comparison. You know what is light only because you know darkness. You know what is sound only because you know silence. You know this only because of that. Because, see, right now if I touch this, my hand says this cup is cool. No, it is not so. It is because of the way my body temperature is, I'm thinking this is cool.
Everything is relative.
If I lower my body temperature and touch this would be warm to me. So your entire perception is by comparison. Perception by comparison is good enough for survival process. It is not good enough for knowing the nature of life. It will help you to survive in the world. These 5 sense organs will help you to survive in the world, but it will not give you any sense about what this life is about. So if you have to know life the way it is, not the way it's projected to be. When I say not the way it is projected to be, see right now, let's say you're 6 feet tall. Now, in this society, you stand like a tall man, you walk like a tall man, you feel like a tall man, you are a tall man. You went to another society where everybody is 8 feet tall, suddenly you feel like a short man, stand like a short man, walk like one and feel like one, and you are one, isn't it? So what you know by comparison is only good enough for survival in a given situation. It is not good enough instruments to know life in its essence. So if you want to know something more, you have to enhance your perception. Right now, everything that you carry in your mind as information is all these comparisons and half bits and pieces. When I say bits and pieces, right now you can see this part of my hand. That means you cannot see this part of my hand. This is not just with my hand, even if you take a grain of sand. If you see one part, you cannot see the other part. This is the nature of human perception. When this question came up, when Arnab asked this question some time ago, when I was a child, I stared and stared, trying to bend my perception around this because I can see only a part of it. How to see the other part? You won't believe this. By the time I was 11 years of age, I would walk in the jungle alone by myself for 3 to 4 days till my bread lasted, alone. And I learned to see in the dark absolutely as good as the animals. And not just walking, I caught dozens of snakes in the dark. They couldn't believe that I can see as good as them, but I could pick them up because it is just a question of enhancing your perception, and a human being is capable of this because on this planet, we have the most evolved neurological system. But because of cerebral activity, which is new, evolutionary scale, it is a new happening. Because of that, we are too enamored with our thought and emotion, we don't feel so many things. But actually, you have a better neurological system than any creature on this planet. Do you agree with me? But if you want to smell something out, you'll bring a dog. If you want something else, you look at something else because they don't have this thought process. they're able to just be keen on how they perceive their senses. But human beings' ability to sense anything has gone down because they are completely going on with their own thought. Their own thought and emotion keeps them busy for their entire life. Their psychological reality has overshadowed their existential reality. This is the biggest problem. So when we talk about life, we are not talking about a psychological space. Today if you say life, if somebody says my life, you are supposed to think he's talking about his work. He's talking about his family, he's talking about his car, he's talking about his wealth. He's not talking about life. Life means this, what is throbbing inside and keeping this alive right now.
That's interesting. Because yeah, if you said, oh, when it's talking about what do you think of when someone's talking about his life? It's talking about his experiences. I guess I would have said that too, but also his accomplishments in life, house, car, wife, whatever else. But to say this life, I would have. No, that's interesting.
This is life, isn't it? But when people say life, you're supposed to understand that he's not talking about life, he's actually talking about his job or wealth or money, a business or something. Because your idea of life has become purely survival. The idea of evolution or the possibility of this evolution is that a human being is capable of rising beyond their survival process. This is the reason why survival doesn't fulfill you. For every other creature, their survival requirements are taken care of, they're just fine, they have no other issue. Eating, sleeping, reproducing, their life is complete. Till these things happen to you, you think these are big things. But once they happen to you, they don't mean anything. You want something more to happen. If that something more happens, you want something more. If that something more happens, you want something more. If you look at this, what you want is not more, what you want is all. And if you want all, you should not go by extending physical boundaries because physical can never be all, isn't it? You're desiring for the infinite, but you think you will get there by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, you will only become endless counting. You will only become endless counting. Now, because we are looking at everything in comparison, in many ways we have fragmented the world, even our own species between men and women, and everything is divided because we are perceiving everything through sense perception, we don't have a life perception. So if you have to transcend the limitations of your senses, it is not that senses are bad, without that you wouldn't even know that you exist. Senses are fundamental, without it you cannot survive. But once you're human, survival is not good enough, something more needs to happen. For that something more, some striving is needed, you must look at this properly. Anything in your life which is about survival has come to you just naturally. See, suppose you got lost in a jungle as an infant, no contact with any human society. Something edible came in front of you, would you first try your ears, then your nostrils, then your eyes and accidentally find your mouth? No. Anything concerned with survival, you just know, isn't it? But you wouldn't know how to read, how to write, language, this, that, many other things you would not know. Because anything beyond survival will not come to you unless you strive for it. So, to turn inward, that means, why I'm saying turn inward is because these sense organs are essentially outward bound. But the experience of your life is happening from within you. Do you see me? Hello, all of you? Do you see me? Even if you're not listening, it's okay, but do you see me? Can you use one hand and point out where I am? You got it all wrong, you know, I'm a mystic.
Or…
No, this light is falling upon me, reflecting, going through your lenses, inverted image in the retina, you know the entire story. So where do you see me? You see me within yourself. Where do you hear me? You hear me within yourself. Where have you seen the whole world? Within yourself. Everything that ever happened to you, light and darkness happens within you.
Now this is the real cool thing that I thought of. He said some time ago. I don't think he went back with this, and this is a very interesting concept that I don't think a lot of people look at. I mean, it's not important if you don't look at it in a specific, or in some specific way, in my opinion. And that specific way is what Sadhguru is teaching, how you have control over your body, and these external things that are coming into your body affects your internal body. And you don't how do I say this? Everything is happening within your body, and you have absolute control over your body. So that means your happiness, your sadness, your well-being to a degree, it's all within your body that you can control. But people think it's these external things that are happening to them that are affecting that are making them sad and happy, which they can if they let it. And that's, I think, the responsibility part, is the sure fact that, I mean, it fits into my responsibility way, kind of, because you can let that affect you or not. And again, what Sadhguru says is your memory that also affects you. Even though something happened in the past, say 5 minutes ago, it's making you sad or angry right now, in the present, in the now. But yet it's past. Why is it affecting you now? Memory. And also, why is it affecting you even if it's now? You're letting it. You have control over your body. You have control over your emotion. Or you should. But we don't, because we don't have the manual for it.
Pain and pleasure happens within you, joy and misery happens within you, agony and ecstasy happens within you. Just about anything that ever happened to you happened only within you. You have never experienced anything outside of you. Right now, if somebody touches your hand, you think you're experiencing their hand. No. You're only experiencing the sensations in your hand, isn't it? Now your entire experience is within. When it is so, what happens within you, at least what happens within you, must happen the way you want it, isn't it? If you happen just the way you want it, would you keep yourself in the highest level of pleasantness or unpleasantness? Pleasantness. The choice for yourself is definitely pleasantness. What you want for your neighbor may be debatable, but what you want for yourself is very, very clear. But that one thing is not happening. Why I'm talking about pleasantness is, there is substantial medical and scientific evidence today that if you remain pleasant, without a moment of anger, anxiety, irritation, agitation, nothing, for 24 hours if you remain like this, they are saying your ability to use your intelligence can go up by 100% in 24 hours' time. So, pleasantness or joy or bliss is not a goal by itself, it is a fundamental necessity. In the sense, only if your experience of life is pleasant and if there is no fear of suffering, will you walk full stride. Otherwise, fear of suffering will always cripple you in so many ways. But today it's become like this, people, well, even spiritual leaders are going about talking, saying that peace of mind is the ultimate goal of life. Such people will only rest in peace. I was to speak at Tel Aviv, and I'm flying out of Atlanta in United States, and I'm to land there at 11 in the morning and speak at 6:30 in the evening. I end up landing there because of some flight delays at 6 in the evening. So I'm quickly changing in the airport, because in these 35 years I have not been late to a single event or appointment. I've managed this always. So I'm rushing and I'm famished, I'm super hungry, because I'm flying an American airline, there's nothing edible on that plane. But I don't have a moment to grab something, so I just went straight, and to my amazement I found I'm speaking at a fine restaurant. That doesn't happen at all to me. I thought, this is it. When I'm so hungry, this is the place to go. And people were already coming in, some people greeting me, and one man comes and says, "Shalom." I ask him, "What does it mean?" He says, "This is the highest way of greeting." I said, "Well, that's your opinion. What does it mean?" He said, "No, no, this is really the highest way of greeting." All right, but what does the word mean? I say, it means peace. Then I say, why is peace the highest way of greeting unless you're born in Middle East? You come in South India, in the morning you come and say, peace. I'll say, what's wrong with you? I'm saying if you deprive yourself of something for long enough, suddenly, slowly it'll rise to heaven. If you've not eaten for 5 days, let us say your favorite god appeared, what will you ask? Food?
Food.
Food will raise to heaven, everything that you don't have will raise to heaven. Being peaceful, it's not the ultimate goal of life, it is the most fundamental requirement. Today if you want to enjoy your dinner, if not ecstatic, at least you must be peaceful, isn't it? If you want to take a walk on the street and enjoy it, you must at least be peaceful. If you want to live with this handful of people in your family, you must at least be peaceful if not ecstatic, isn't it? If you want to enjoy the few things that you do in your life, the most fundamental thing, basic requirement is at least you're peaceful. But today people are saying, it is the ultimate goal of life, peace of mind. That's never going to happen, because they have not understood the simplest aspects of life. For example, your mind. Can we? The simplest aspect, it's like this. Because people are falling out of scriptures, this is the biggest problem. I was about to tell a joke, but Arnab was serious. This happened in Tennessee. You know, our center in United States is in Tennessee. It's a hardcore religious place. People said, Sadhguru, you will get killed in no time. But we are flourishing in Tennessee, doing very well, because they can't figure out who I am. I go out into this little town, and I'm new there and I'm smiling at everybody and greeting people on the street. Small little town. One big man, over 6 feet tall, this wide, comes and stands just 6 inches away from me, looks down on me like this and said, God loves us. I look at him and say, the way you are, only God can love you. He has to love the mistakes he has made. Before he realized, it takes time to get things. By then I'm gone, of course. So in Tennessee, every family has a huge Bible, not small, big ones, this big, leather bound. The bigger the family, the richer the family, the bigger the size of the Bible. Almost every home has 10 commandments carved on the stone. Most of it goes from South India, these carvings. So it's good business, I watch this and say, okay, it's good for our economy, commandments or no commandments. So, this little boy, 8-year-old boy, went to school on East Coast and came back home in the vacation. So he was just flipping through this big book, and a dry leaf fell out. The boy started screaming, Mama, Mama, see what I have found. His mother said, what have you found, my son? He said, just come and see what I have found. So the mother came running to see what. Then he pointed at the leaf and said, Adam's underwear.
Are you sure it's not Eve though? You know, she was wearing the same thing.
So a lot of people, the reason why something so simple and life-oriented has become complicated is because people are falling out of scriptures. What is it that makes you think 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 years ago, people were far more intelligent than you and me? Why is it so? Is it not such a retrograde step that you think people 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 years ago were much smarter than you and me? Is it so? Is it in line with the evolutionary process, I'm asking?
Oh, I
No.
get what he's trying to get at.
But this is the thing we want to change. Today, with everything around us, we handle it scientifically using various technologies. It is equally important that you handle your inner nature scientifically, in a logically correct manner and with tools. Now your thing is, give me the tools. These are subjective in nature. If it was a screwdriver, I would have come with a bag full and given it to you. This is subjective. What is subjective means it is something within. Right now, everything of you is outward. That is, All your five senses are outward bound, isn't it? You cannot turn them inward. You can't roll your eyeballs inward and scan yourself. You can hear this, so much activity here, you cannot hear this. An ant crawls upon this hand, you can feel it. So much blood flowing, you cannot feel it. In the very nature of things, your sense organs are outward bound. If you want genuine tools of transformation, I would say, if you dedicate 28 to 30 hours of focused time, okay? 28 to 30 hours of focused time, we will give you tools to experience or touch a dimension which is inward. Inward is not of thought, inward is not contemplation. What you call as mind and body is very outward, because body is something that you accumulated over a period of time from outside, isn't it? The soil that you walk upon is what is sitting here as the body. If you get it now from me, your life will transform. Otherwise, one day you will get it from the maggots. Yes What you call as my mind is also an accumulation of impressions that we have taken in. This is accumulation of food, this is accumulation of impressions. But between these two heaps of impressions and food, somewhere there is something else which makes all this happen. If that comes into your living experience, then you will not need any guidance from anybody. To get you there, I'm asking not 12 years of sadhana, I'm asking 30 hours of focused time. You must do that much to yourself. You deserve that.
Thank you.
Sadhguru, my question to you. When we think of, bringing reforms to our religion, and we all are, are taught that in Vedas it's written that soul has no gender. And so, we saw this sati pratha being abolished, and we saw widow remarriage also. So why don't you all, as Arnab was saying, think about, the entry of women in temples?
Fundamentally in this society, there is no such thing as discrimination. There are more Devi temples in the country than anything else. Every village has it. But certain temples have taken this position, mainly hill temples. This, as I said, because of a certain reason in the past. It has to change now, no question about that. But if there are occult temples, even if they allow you, I please beg the woman, please don't go there. By law, if you're allowed, by norm, if you're allowed, still you should not go there, if you have any sense.
So my question is to both Sadhguruji as well as Arnab.
Real quick, like I said again before, I don't attend church or aspire to any kind of religion, so… And again, with governments, I highly do not want governments to keep adding more power to the government. I understand the government needs to grow, it does need power, but it has to grow slowly and it has to make sense. I'd rather the people do it than the government, because the people will always have the power until you give the government too much of your power, and then the people will have no power and it become a dictatorship. So people will have the power to choose whether to go to these temples or not, choose whether this temple succeed or not. These temples, unless they're doing something illegal, cannot force people to go, and if people stop going, the temples will just naturally either continue if it has some kind of funding, or maybe go out of business. I don't know, because there's not enough donations, not enough people going. But if you give government power to go into religious temples for whatever reason, they will hold on to that power, and that will also apply to any kind of power that you give to the government. But I'm not against the government, but I don't want the government to gain too much power. It's difficult, again, like I said in other videos, it's difficult to remove power from government once it's given to them.
What's your view on our leader, Prime Minister? And I would like to ask both of you, Sadhguruji, if you are the Prime Minister tomorrow, what is one change which you would like to bring in our country?
Well, I am not planning to get into the parliament either. About My opinion about a leader… See, I'm not a member of any political party, nor am I a fan of any political leader. Nor am I a fan of any political leader. But I have to say this, I'm politically conscious maybe for the last nearly 50 years now. I've been reading newspapers for 50 years, so in this I find now it looks like we have the most determined leadership ever. Are they right or they're wrong? It's not for me to take a call whether they're right or wrong. At least India is topmost on their mind. This is very heartening for me. And because I have been in certain situations with variety of political leaders in the past, it always scared me that for 24 hours if you're with them, they don't have one single thought on their mind today what they can do for this country sitting in such a responsible position. Which kind of, really shook me. How is it somebody that is heading a nation with such a huge population and 1 million problems doesn't think today what can be done? At least today you have a leadership where nation is on the topmost in their mind. But do we have to agree with everything that they do? Not necessarily. Can we disagree with them? 100%. We can, if what is being done is not right for the country. Arnab spoke about this prior today morning also where I was telling them, nation is an idea. Without bringing pride and emotion towards that, you are not going to make it happen. This is a crime we've committed. In 1947, when there was a euphoria of emotion and thing for the nation, people are willing to die for it, that was the time to enshrine the nation in everybody's hearts. We did not do that. We had fanciful ideas and we did not know what to do probably. In retrospect, in postmortem, we can say many things. We don't know what was their mindset and what was happening, whatever. They lost control over that, they lost that opportunity. Whenever there is strife in a nation, that is the time when you can once again reshape a country.
I wouldn't say… maybe they lost it, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Look at America, they united against the British during the Civil War. Look at America today, or before 9/11, the country was essentially being torn apart. 9/11 happened, we united the country. Then after 9/11, it's falling back apart again. It's like it doesn't matter almost what you do. It's when things get so comfortable, when survival is no longer an issue. The quote that Sadhguru keeps saying about, no, you're hungry, one problem. When you're not hungry, 99 problems. And that's the problem. It's the fact that, once survival is satisfied, we have 1,000 problems. We're just never happy. And people will always look for problems. That's just how human nature is. And like how I said, when he said strife, I can't remember which video I said this, but the only time you'll have the world unite if we have a world-ending problem. Then we'll set aside our issues, our petty issues. It will be set aside because, you know what? If we don't solve this problem, we're all gonna die. Only then will the world unite. But once that's over with, we'll back to fighting each other, squabbling over stupid stuff,
When people are comfortable, unfortunately, most people will not be conscious. We have to build a humanity which will be in utmost comfort and still conscious. That is when we really build a good nation. But still we are in a place where unless we are in a strife, we are not conscious of the larger well-being of what needs to happen. So, in many ways, today, even if there is no real strife on the street, there is strife. Arnab is going to be active in 2 months. Small issues. When I say small, I'm not saying small in significance, I'm saying small in size. See, a child falls into a tube well, it is small in size but not small in significance. A life is a life, okay? If it is my life, it's significant. So it is the same way it's significant for everybody's life. It may be small in size, but it is significant for what it is. So like this, there are 1,000 issues in the country, and for the first time we have mediums through which all these issues can enter everybody's heads and everybody can think about it. So there is strife, there is going to be strife in this country. When I say strife, don't think something has to happen on the street. No, it needs to happen. Strife needs to happen in people's hearts and minds. So that is anyway going to happen. When this is happening, this is the time to build that sense of pride. But pride should not become prejudice. It's very important to build that pride in who we are and not developing prejudice against those who we think are not part of us. This is a very subtle process which needs to be done. Is there some ideal way of doing it? No, we will have to mess around with it. That's the only way it will happen. But a new generation is coming, young people, whose thought process, whose way of looking at life has changed in many ways. Today, for the first time in the history of humanity, more human beings are able to think for themselves than ever before. Whether they're thinking right or wrong is not the debate, but they're thinking. At one time, a scripture would think for you, a guru would think for you, an elder would think for you, one man in the village would think for you. Today, everybody is beginning to think for themselves. Once this happens, people will become in such a way, unless something is logically correct, they cannot swallow it. If you make them swallow it, they cannot digest it. This will happen. Right now, you are still a generation who is still willing to acknowledge an authority and try to digest something which is not logically correct. But your children will be such, even if God comes and speaks, if it doesn't make sense to them, they will reject it.
So well said.
We are just on the verge of that. So this is a time, this is a good time, because now we are moving to a place where only truth can be the authority. Authority cannot be the truth anymore. Doesn't matter where the authority is coming from. This evolution is anyway going to happen in the next, in my estimate, I'm saying somewhere between next 20 to 40 years' time, all the heavens will collapse. When I say heavens will collapse, do you know what's in heaven?
I'm sorry, I paused it there because someone clapped. I'm like, wait, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I'm kind of confused too. It's like, I'm not really confused. I just don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, the way Sadhguru is talking about. So I guess it's about to explain it. I'm going to make an assumption here before it does, and that's the scriptures is talking about how the old ways of how we used to live, and now there's so many technology has made our life so easy that we can see all the problems, no matter how minute they are. It's gonna change. Well, basically, it is changing the world as we see it now. Look at social media and all of that, how everyone expressing their issues that no one has seen before, because we didn't have these technologies to express the issues that we have. So now all these issues seem like they're a big deal because we're starting to see it and like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about it, even though they've been going on for a long time. That doesn't mean that we should not address these issues, but we shouldn't make it a big deal, as in like blow it out of proportion. It is important that we fix these issues, but we shouldn't blow it out of proportion. It's kind of like when you're trying to make a hole, you don't want to make a dynamite, you want to use a drill. You're gonna blow up the entire whatever it is that you're trying to drill a hole into.
You must know, in Hindu heaven, the food is very good. If you are a foodie, that's where you must go. Nala himself cooks for you, the best chef. In another place, there are those white-gowned ladies who float around, legless ladies who float around in the clouds. If you like that kind of ambience, you go there. In another place, you will encounter virgin problems. If you like that, you can go there. But what do you have to do to get there? This happened in Alabama. You heard of Alabama? It's a special state in America.
Special.
In a Sunday school teacher was going on, full fire. And in his rhetoric, he asked, "What do you have to do to go to heaven?" Little Mary, who was sitting in the front row, said, "If I scrub the church floor every Sunday, I will go to heaven." He said, "Absolutely." Another little girl stood up and said, "If I share 50% of my pocket money with a less privileged friend, I will go to heaven." Correct. Another little boy said, "If I help other people, I will go to heaven." Correct. Little Tommy in the backbench stood up and said, "You gotta die first."
Ooh. And here's a real quick thing that he was talking about there. I don't know if he's gonna say this or not, but that becomes a problem. Where people are doing things because they want something, not because they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart. Again, so for example, oh, if I scrub the church, I get to go to heaven. It's like, so if you don't get to go to heaven, would you still continue to scrub the church? Probably not. Would you continue to give money to the less fortunate if that doesn't guarantee you heaven, or if you don't go to heaven because of that? Probably not. They'll do things for an incentive, and that's what they're teaching these kids to a degree. Hopefully, they do it in the path of devotion where they see everything they do as going to heaven, as opposed to seeing it as a transaction to where, like, well, if I do this, they'll give me 15 points to go to heaven, which I need about 1 billion more, so I gotta find out more ways to get more points to go to heaven. Otherwise, I'm not gonna do it. It's like, this one gives me negative, and this one gives me nothing. So helping out the homeless gives me nothing, but giving 20% to the church will give me 50 points, so let me go ahead and give the church.
That's a qualification. You got to die first. When you die, depending upon what culture you are, we will either burn you, bury you, or cut you and throw you to the birds. One thing is, if you have not done anything eco-friendly, I'm assuring you, at least when you die, we will do something eco-friendly about you. We'll put you back to earth. It's a very good thing to do. If you take this body and go away somewhere, this is the worst thing to do because you're taking away the topsoil. So, you will leave your body here and go to heaven. You went to heaven without a body. What are you going to do with good food and virgins? This is what I want to know. When you don't have a body. So I am saying, heavens will collapse. Once people start asking logical questions, heavens will collapse. When heavens collapse, we have managed humanity for a long time, telling them, doesn't matter you're suffering here. God is looking at everything you're suffering. One day He will reward you up there. With this we have been managing humanity, so this will not work. When this doesn't work, what will people do? One big thing that will happen is, we will move towards chemicals. To be peaceful, we already need chemicals.
Too late, yeah, I was gonna say too late, America's already into that.
To be joyful, we need chemicals. To be healthful, we need chemicals. 70% of the United States population is on prescription medication.
I thought 80.
The other 30%, of course, buying it off the back streets.
Hey, look, I'm not taking any chemicals, all right, Sadhguru? 99.999% then. I do have to take some sometimes. Rarely do I ever. That's only whenever I'm prescribed, that I'm like suffering in pain or whatever. Or like antibacterial, or like, the shots and stuff for flu or whatever maybe, but I don't take it unless necessary. And I mean necessary.
Just see, in the last 25 years, how many more people are consuming alcohol? How many more people are consuming drugs on this planet? It's gone up 10,000%. This is simply because in their minds, heaven is collapsing. You must understand this, that somewhere else it will be good, is going away. They want to have it good here. Unless you teach them, unless you teach them how to simply sit here and be blissed out about your existence itself. The very life within you is an ecstatic process. If you don't teach them this, 90% will move towards drugs and alcohol in a huge way in the next 25 to 30 years. This is not a moral issue for me. I have no moral judgment on that. It is just that as a generation of people, we must understand we hold this space on the planet just for a brief period of time. There are two fundamental responsibilities. One is we must leave the world a little better than the way it was given to us by the previous generation. This we cannot do. No matter if we do all the right things from today, it will take another 150 to 200 years to turn back the damage we have already caused. So no way we can leave the world better than the way it was when we came in. So in that responsibility we can't fulfill, we can start the process now, that's all. The next important responsibility we have as a generation is, the next generation that we produce must be at least one notch better than us. But if 90% of humanity is on some kind of chemicals, believe me, genetically we will produce a generation which is less than us. This is a crime against humanity. So one important aspect that every nation has to take care of, including ours, is that we must teach people how to know well-being within themselves. Unfortunately, right now, we think if you give money or food or medicine, it is service. If I teach you how to live joyfully, it is not service. We have still… See, in this country, the most important thing in the ancient India was, you know how to be within you. This was the most respected thing, because we know what will come out of this. When you have no concerns of fear, when you have no fear of suffering, that is when you will walk your life full stride. That is when great human beings are produced. If we want to produce a great nation, society, these are just words. There are only individual human beings. Only if we produce great human beings will there be a great society and a great nation and a great world.
Okay, before it goes on to the next one, and I do want to say this, there's also something going on in America, and I'm kind of wondering this. So, there are some… they're prescribing drugs to kids. It's kind of crazy. ADHD, like, I think boys tend to have this a bit more than females. Let me reposition here. And then also another big issue, actually, which is single parenthood is quite growing in the US. The last statistics that I remember within the black family is around 70%. Within the white family, it's about 50 to 60%. And I don't quite remember for Hispanics and Asians, but Asians tend to be the lower. And Jews, I didn't realize they were a race, but they are the lowest. In terms of how much money is made, I think Jews top that. Jews also are like the least divorced. Like, they're very successful in life in general. Then Asian is next in line. And it's kind of weird that how it kind of mimics mimics like the crime rates too. Jews can… I'm sure… I didn't see anything with Jews there with crime rate. But like, Asian makes the most money in the United States. They commit the least amount of crime. You look at Hispanics. I'm sorry, it's gonna be white people who are next in line, I do believe, in terms of successfulness. And, well, they actually don't commit… maybe they do, I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've seen the statistics, but it seems very equal in terms of who is more successful tends to generate less crime versus the less successful. It's just really weird to see it that way and to try to understand and what does it mean. I mean, Asians were also slaves in the West, in America. That's who built up the West, were Asians. And then the East and the South, or actually Southeast, is Africans. But yet somehow Asians, I don't know what went differently with them. Anyways, that's going way off topic. But anyways, so basically the drug that we are assigning to our kids, and also single parenthood. Apparently, there's a study that says that single parenthood was a very major deterministic of whether a child is successful or not, whether to term the crime or not. And it kind of makes sense. Whenever you're a single parent, you don't really have time to interact with your kids. You're busy working, and then when you're home, you have to take care of the house because your kid may help you, but there's still a lot of things in the house that has to be handled by the adult. And then when your kid wants your attention, you're either upset, angry, or you want to rest, and then that's not really good for them. So they end up turning to other places, other things for that fulfillment. And even then, it doesn't fulfill them really. So I don't know. He hasn't addressed it. That's something he hasn't said yet. Drugs, yes, are a problem, but I think by solving the single parent household, we'll fix, I think, a lot of that. And I'm wondering what he has to say about that single parent household.
Sadhguru, I'd have to thank you at this point.
Talking about
Oh my.
perceptions, and I read in the speaking today about you talking about perception and expanded awareness. I have seen in my own experience of working on myself, consciousness, etc. I saw sometimes when the perception was expanded, and when I felt it. I also saw that there was a very thin line between imagination and perception. There were times when one could actually pick up a lot of information about things around us, like the energy. And sometimes it was like, is it my fear or is it everybody else's fear, the collective consciousness? What validates that within me? That is it me? Is it imagination? Is it perception?
See, there are 5 dimensions of receptivity in the human being, or 5 major points of receptivity in the human brain itself. These 5 dimensions are referred to as centers of sleep, centers of imagination, centers of memory, centers of right perception, centers of perversion. Everything that comes to you, how you perceive it depends on through which center you took it in. You will see if you have 2 children at home, same genetics, same food, probably went to the same school, one goes like this, another goes like this. You can't figure, how did these 2 people come from the same father and mother? Because it is the way they perceive it, from where they receive it. Same things, if you receive from different dimensions, it becomes different things within you. This is the reason why this may look like a little thing, but I'm telling you, this is the reason why forever they've been stressing on a live guru, because when you walk a terrain that you're not familiar with, it's best to have a guide who's walked the terrain. See, every year I trek in Tibet and Nepal. This Sherpa who walks with me, he's illiterate, he doesn't know anything, spirituality, nothing. But we're going in the mountains, there are 2 pathways, he just says, I just go behind him. If I think I'm much smarter than him and I say, no, like this I will go, maybe that's my last day. You understand? In the mountains, he is the boss. He knows the terrain, he's lived there, he's grown up there, he has a certain sense. With all my education, I have a sense of direction, I'm an aviator, I have a certain sense of direction, I know the mathematics, I know the geometry of it, everything. But still, when I'm in the mountains, if he says, I go this way. He doesn't even care to tell me, Sadhguru, come this way. He just says, I just follow him. It's sensible to do that. When you're walking in unfamiliar terrain, that's the best thing to do. Thank you.
Okay. So another interesting one with Sadhguru. Definitely got to watch more of these conversations. Very interesting to learn about. It's a weird way to learn about India as well, about the issues that are having over there, which I would have never honestly thought. I mean, I know that every country has their issues, but to say that it looks so… it's like a mirror. Looking at India is like a mirror of the United States. It's really… I don't know if you've gone too far yet. I've seen some crazy stuff on some YouTube channels in America. I just hope you guys don't get there. Like crazy stuff. Someone made a comment saying about like every day there's a pronouns created. Like, yeah, have you seen those videos? It's crazy. It's crazy. And I have a theory on that as well. And I think I've said it. I'll go ahead and just kind of summarize it real quick. I think people want to feel special in America because everything's so easy. So they want to be unique and different and special. And by creating a pronoun, they can feel that way. So they don't have to actually do anything to feel special or be special. Just create a pronoun and boom, they're special. I remember, and then I believe in the 90s, everyone wants to be the same, not different. Because different means you're an outcast. Again, there's nothing wrong with being different. If you're different because of how you are, then there's nothing wrong with that. You're different because you're different. Now people are trying to create things to be different, even though they're not different. Oh man. And it makes you wonder whether the drugs that everyone's taking or the single parent household that's causing these issues. I'm sure it's probably both to some degree. Now it's not to say every single parent household has these issues, but there's a very high probability of being that child being raised with an issue because the child is not getting the attention that the child wants or deserves. And then what else is going on? There was something else I thought of, I can't remember. But yeah, anyway, these are just things that I observe. I'm trying to understand, have my theories, whether they're true or not, I don't know. Even I don't know. It's just a theory that I have that I base my experiences on. So anyways, that's my reaction to Arnab Goswami with Sadhguru. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.